Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Juliette, and today we're actually going to be doing things a bit different from this point forward. I'm no longer channeling ancestors, and that's because I've gotten notice from my guides that it's time to channel from a higher space, channel from a higher frequency. And so I'm going to be more tuned into the sixth dimension and upwards. And so from this point forward, it's not going to be really about the fifth dimension anymore. And if you don't know, a lot of spirit guides actually reside in the fifth dimension. That's where a lot of these deities actually come from, the fifth dimension. And so channeling from the sixth dimension, it might be a bit out there, it might be a bit more esoteric, and it might be a bit more geared towards your soul rather than the physical reality. Because what I had aimed for was to find a middle point between spirituality and this very real physical 3D plane, right? But what has happened that I've noticed within my own channeling is that it's become about a lot of relationships, and it's become about interpersonal relations with other people. And that was actually bothering me for a bit, because the way I read for myself, when I read, it's very much about soul mission, soul driven conversations, and not so much about the interpersonal relationships between people, right? And so from this point forward, it's not going to be too focused on people. It's not going to be focused on how others perceive you, how others are dealing with you, or what they're saying. It's not about that anymore. And so I just want to give you guys a heads up, because I do feel like there's a change happening within myself, and this change is asking me to ascend beyond the 5D. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep ascending, and I hope that you guys ascend with me and we all do this together, right? So let's get into the tarot and see what our angels and above have for us. Spirit guides above the 6D realm, what message do you have for the collective? Okay, so the back of the deck energy is the Knight of Cups. Connect with me, guides. Connect with me, universe. What message do you have? I'm seeing that there is a journey that's moving forward now. It was as if we were stuck in the waiting process, right? We were waiting for something to occur in our lives that would bring us fortune away from all of the deceit and the talk that we had been projected onto. Okay, I'm hearing that a lot of you have had lifetimes where things didn't work out for you simply because of the reputation that others created for you. Okay, and so you're no longer waiting for that reputation to clear up. I also wanted to mention that I have my own crystal shop called crystallith.com. Here you can find ethically sourced crystals, And they're all high vibrational, imbued with my own energy, my own light energy. And so they're ready to use right off the bat for your manifestations, for your clearing, for your healing. And I also offer tarot readings on that same website. There's a whole tab for it. And there's 3 different types of readings that you can choose from. The quintessential, which is going to be a general reading. It's kind of about just your general life, where you're heading. And then the second one is the starseed reading, which is all about your soul mission, what you're here to do. The last one is about the lovers. And so it's all about love, your divine union, your divine counterpart. Okay. So thank you so much for being here, because you realize that it doesn't matter what you do and what you don't do. It's your mere existence that triggers people, that triggers other souls in a way that is so deep that they cannot help but to harm you, even when you're not harming them. They perceive it, they change it into you harming them. So I'm getting a stomach ache right now, and it feels like this has made you feel sick to your stomach for years and for lifetimes, because you understood the implications of being talked about in a negative way. And so in this lifetime, you've had to overcome not speaking your truth. You've had to overcome hiding in the shadows, hiding, because, and this has been used against you as well, where you're not so outward about who you are. And so people, they might blame you for being too mysterious or too secretive, or like what's up her sleeve. It's just like, they don't realize that that's exactly what you're trying to hide from. People perceiving you. They don't understand that you have gone through so much trauma lifetime after lifetime regarding your reputation, that you just simply didn't even care for it in this lifetime. And you may have had moments where you've walked into a group of people and they all know you before you even know any of their names. You have experienced where people already have a certain perception of you before you even are able to introduce yourself. And that used to bother you so much. But because, through this journey, you've just learned that talk is just talk. And even if it has like 3D implications, in the spiritual sense, it doesn't do anything. In the way that you feel about yourself, it doesn't do anything anymore, because you've moved forward. You've taken strides in learning how to give to yourself. And cups is very flowy, and not a lot of things can stop water once it's flowing, right? And so you have tapped into such a strong sense of confidence in who you are, that other people's nonsense just doesn't affect you anymore. Just doesn't do what they think that it does, right? And so now you're kind of in this space where anything goes, because you're not constrained to these past people that are committed to making sure that you're perceived in a certain way. You're free from them. That's why you went through this whole cycle of ridding people that only listened to rumors, that only understood rumors, that didn't know how to think for themselves. Those people have been cut out of your life. And for good reason. Because you are no longer held by those constraints. You have removed yourself from that situation, from that community, and you knew you had to, right? It hurts that you couldn't find peace and love within that community, but they were never meant for you. They were meant to deter you away from yourself. And so it's a really beautiful thing that you have gotten rid of them and you have come back to yourself, right? Because honestly, the devil shows up in our friends, in the people closest to us. That's why I say we're only as strong as our weakest link. Because even if we are strong in who we are, if our group is weak, if they do not know how to think for themselves, if they don't know how to understand concepts of justice outside of their own gain, then they are living in a very low vibrational state. And what I mean by that is that it's a very one-dimensional concept to only think of you and only you, that only you truly matter in this world. Because that's not true, is it? Because once we ascend, we understand that there are so many timelines and there's so many different variables and there's so many different people that create a fuller idea of life, right? Because if we only limit it to ourselves, then our understanding of the world is extremely limited because it's only through one lens. And so the people that you were around were operating at most at the third dimension. And in this reality, what they could see, what they could hear, that was all that they cared about. And that was what they used to make judgments onto you. And everybody, honestly, it's not just you. It's everybody. They are all kind of put into this smaller version of reality because it's just easier to conceptualize. It's easier to be like, well, I know everything because it's what I see. It's what I know. And so you've walked away from those small-minded people. And truly, it is small-minded to only think in terms of you, right? Of course, this journey is to find our voice, is to focus on us, is to only focus on us. But the thing is, when we focus on us, we have this amazing ability to tap into a lot of other people. It's like, when I say that they only focus on them and that's their shortcoming, they only focus on their 3D reality. They're only focusing on what they can gain, what they have to lose, their shortcomings, their strengths, right? It's what they can see with their eyes and feel with their body. But when my community, when we focus on us, there's a beautiful reciprocation energy that occurs because we're empaths, because we're healers. Because when a healer heals themselves, they're able to heal others, right? So you focusing on you has been such a crucial part into you becoming who you are right now. And it's really important that you don't think that you are the same as these people that you have dealt with. Maybe you are falling into the trap of assuming that you're just as bad as the people that you've left. And it's like a half truth, right? It's, yeah, you were with them because you connected with them in a very low vibrational way before. But you have to remember you actively decided to not connect with them anymore because you don't align with them anymore. It's very important that you remember that because you're stepping away from the material realm. You're no longer focused on the circumstances right in front of you because you're not in a survival mindset. You're in an expansive ascension mindset. And so now you look beyond what is in front of you. You can see other timelines, right? That's the fourth dimension. You can see other timelines. And even though you are still entwined in the linear aspect of time, you are able to tap into a dimension that doesn't exist with time. It just exists. And because you have that deeper understanding, you're coming to see that everything that you've been through, everything you walked away from, was because you were tapping into this higher dimension, was because you were tapping into different timelines where you didn't have to be with these people. And you realize that a lot of how you felt about yourself was being fed through those channels, your weakest links. Because that's where those lower vibrational energies, that's where those thoughts can still reach you, right? Through those weakest links. And so you've snipped them off, you've cut them out of your life, which is great. And so now we're moving into our tarot. 6 of Swords in reverse with the King of Cups in reverse. Everything in your spread is in reverse today. All right. So that tells me that right now it may feel kind of discombobulating. It may feel like you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's going on. You can't really pinpoint where you're going. But understand that right now, because you've completed the last karmic cycle, you are actually free from that. Because the karmic wheel, it exists for those that need to learn those lessons. But there's also a part of existence that doesn't rely on the karmic wheel. Just as there is a part of existence that no longer relies on time, there is a part that no longer relies on karma. And we say karma is a law of the universe. But once you get past this universe, karma no longer applies. And that's what I'm trying to get to with you guys. Understanding that you don't need to play by the rules of this universe. Even. Because there's other dimensions that don't even use the laws that we have here in this universe. And I want to break you guys into those higher dimensions, okay? And I actually had to learn this for myself. I was telling my sisters this, but I was guided to learn about dimensions because I've never really learned about it before. And so I started learning about different dimensions and what it means and what laws that still apply and what doesn't apply at certain levels, right? And so 6th dimension, and this is why my guides told me to learn, because the next day they told me, they were like, okay, stop channeling from the 5th dimension down. You need to channel from the 6th dimension up. And I was like, why the 6th dimension specifically? And it turns out that the 6th dimension does not use time as a law of existence. Time is irrelevant. Time is accessible in the 6th dimension at all times. Imagine that. So every present moment, okay, there are all the other present moments together, and it can be past, present, or future. It no longer matters that you follow a linear timeline. And so the 6th dimension is when timelines dissipate, when timelines no longer exist. Because all timelines are accessible now, right? And all moments of each timeline is accessible. And so if you feel like you don't really understand what's going on, it's because your body is recalibrating to a type of existence that does not rely on time. And the biggest 3D thing at this moment is time manipulation. It's right now, the agenda is for time to move faster. And what that means is that they want you to doom scroll. They want you focused on things that happened in the past so that you don't focus on right now. Because the magic happens right now. In every dimension, the magic is, and the whole existence, the consciousness exists right now only. Because even if you can access the past and the future, all of it can only be true because it's in the present. Okay? And so you don't know where to go and you don't know how to feel. And that's normal. I think there's right now, I actually did feel a sense of apathy after learning all of this. Why? Because everything that I kind of depended on for my logic was just this, was the fifth dimension and down. It was still like hindered by time. It was still held by time, right? And so now you are no longer being held by time. And so things are going to be a little bit discombobulating. It will be very confusing to you. And maybe you guys should learn about dimensions and see how that can be the new foundation for your logical mind, right? Because we can't just throw away logic. We're still very logical people. I think that people based on survival have a certain attachment to logic because that's how they survive, right? And because we're in a 3D reality still, even if we're able to tap into higher realms, it's important to understand that our logic still has a place in our lives. And so it's not about discarding the knowledge, it's about updating it, right? It's a software update for us kind of thing. You know, so understand that right now you might be being called to learn more, expand your mind, expand your understanding of what your logic is even built on, right? Is it built on concepts that have been human derived? Has it been based on your own inner knowing? Has it been based on, like, what dimension has your knowledge come from, right? If you're a channeler, where are you channeling from? What dimension are you channeling from? Like I said earlier, most spirit guides come from the fifth dimension, which is still time restricted, but they're able to access all timelines in that dimension. And that's why they're so helpful, right? In our 3D, because they're able to tell us, oh, well, I see in this timeline that you're doing a lot better, and it was because you made this decision. And so we're going to tell you so that you can make that decision so that you can access that certain timeline. And so, you know, and so just like, I think right now you're just upgrading. That's what's happening. You're upgrading. Whether you believe what I'm saying or not, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you are no longer upholding the same logic, the same understanding that you once did. You are now being called to ascend. You're now being called to diversify your knowledge, and not only in one state, like one area of the world, diversify it by learning. If you're from the Western world, learn about Eastern knowledge. If you're from the Eastern, learn about Western. If you already have an understanding of both, learn from somewhere else. Just learn. And do not tie yourself to the logic that you have right now. Because you're learning. You're constantly learning. And your guides are telling you, keep learning. Do not think that you understand everything that you need to. Keep an open mind and keep learning, because there's something in that for you. And it's important to not feel like, I don't even know why, but like, I don't know if you feel like you're just condemned to this certain state or something, but in reality, you're not. You're just being called to learn. Okay, maybe you're just really, you were like stubborn before, like, you know, I'm stubborn too, so I get it. You're just stubborn to learn new things. You just want it to be like, no, I know what I know now, and that's good enough, right? Because what you know now might be a bit above most people that you're around. But your spirit guides are saying, do not become complacent with the knowledge that you have right now. Do not think you're at the pinnacle of what logic is, of what knowledge is, because you're not. Right? Because it's like, who said this? Aristotle? But he was like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything. Right? So it's that kind of thing, and that might be why you're feeling apathetic, because maybe you did heed the call when they told you to go learn, right? And so you're learning, but you're like, oh my God, I was completely like not, or like, you know, like you were like, oh my God, I was in this little like loop of just the knowledge that I already had. It was nothing new. And so you might have felt silly, or you might have felt like, oh my God, I didn't know anything at all. And that's a beautiful thing when you can admit that, you know, like there's so much more to learn. That doesn't make you look dumb. That doesn't make you look weak. Doesn't make you look like you don't know what you're doing. It makes you look like you understand reality. Because the more you know, the less you actually know. Right? Or the more you realize you don't know that much, right? It's just that kind of humble approach, I think, right? Let's get rid of the whole Western idea of being confident for a sec, okay? Let's embrace humility. Let's embrace being humble, being students of life, because that mentality is going to take you a lot further around the world, that's what I'm hearing, than just sticking to the Western, oh, if I portray myself as a confident person, then people will think I'm a confident person. People will think that I'm smart. People will think that I know what I'm doing. But in reality, in a lot of other countries, when you portray that you know everything, they automatically understand that you don't know anything. It's kind of funny, right? The way Western society makes us understand, like, or makes us think like acting in a certain way is going to make us come off a certain way. It's like, no, just be humble, just be a human being. And, you know, if you have skills, you have skills, but it doesn't make you like better than or worse than. It's just where you are on your journey. It's not about comparison. It's not about tears. It's not about levels. It's not about any of that. It's just about being a human being that is capable of learning or not. And so right now you're completely dismantling this program that has been taught to you since forever, since your birth. Because I think you guys, well, if you guys can understand English, you know, I think a lot of Western societies have brainwashed us to believe certain things that just aren't true. And I'm not going to get into all of that because I would need to start a podcast to do that. Okay, but I'm doing a tarot reading for you. So I'm going to keep it simple and I'm not going to go too far into that, right? And the Ten of Swords in reverse as well. I'm seeing that, you know, you've overcome everything. Everything that was created to dismantle you, you've dismantled them instead. every system that was created to make you come off as unintelligent is being dismantled as we speak. And so you're no longer holding on to this old pain because you realize that that old pain was just attachment to an idea that wasn't fully fleshed out from the beginning. Okay? And the strife I have right now is the idea of twin flames itself. I claim that I have a twin flame, but I also don't like the idea at the same time. I don't believe in it at the same time. It's like I understand that it's being presented to me, that I could identify with it, but at the same time, my soul doesn't feel resonant with that. And I think that a lot of people that resonated with the twin flame idea are coming to realize that their soul doesn't resonate with it. Their heart might because of the attachment. Their mind might because of the information given. But their soul tells them, keep going. Keep going. There's better for you. There's more for you. And not better as in a whole better human being that is better than the last. It's just there's a better way of relating to this reality than how you have been. Maybe you've been limiting your reality to one single relationship. Maybe you've been relating your ascension to another person when that ascension is yours. Right? So your guides are really talking about things that you've been attached to that you're just no longer attaching yourself to, and that's why you're feeling kind of like, well, then what the heck am I doing? It's like, well, then if that's not the case, then what is the case, right? And they just want to remind you that right now you don't need to be strong. You don't need to be sure. You don't need to be overly confident in who you are. You can just allow yourself to be. You can just be a human being. One that is just navigating reality like the rest of us, right? It's a very humbling way of thinking about it because I think the spiritual community itself has kind of put labels like the chosen one, the ascended one, the master, the guru. But in reality, someone's calling me, hold on. But in reality, it's like a concept of, actually, I don't know where I was going with that because the phone call really threw me off. Oh, you're just kind of like stripping away all these labels, right? Because all these labels create the ego, right? Our ego loves labels. They love discovering who we are and then really attaching ourselves to those labels. But what have we learned through this whole process? That labels are not us, that we are not the labels that we put on ourselves even. We're so much more. Labels are just to help understand where we are currently, but it never defines who we are. And so right now, you're in the midst of stripping away all these labels of who you are, right? I'll use me as an example. Twin flame, stripping that away. Psychic, stripping that away. Tarot reader, stripping that away. Channeler, stripping that away. Scientist, stripping that away. I am no longer relating to any of those labels. I'm just a human being having a human experience. Okay? I'm not even going to say that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience because I don't want to label myself as someone spiritual either. I never really felt comfortable calling myself spiritual, because I think that a lot of the concepts that I have learned and have like built this journey on are from very different places, not only spirituality. I've tapped into psychology. I've tapped into physics. I've tapped into biology. I've tapped into so many different avenues. I've tapped into different religions as well. And so I can't even say that I'm spiritual, that I'm atheist, because I think I am just a hodgepodge of everything. And I'm okay with that. And people, I remember posting about this. I was like, I started out Catholic and then I became Christian. and then I learned about Buddhism, and then I learned about Hinduism, and then I learned about spiritualism. And then someone was like, so you're saying you were lost, you're lost, and you're still lost. And so I deleted that comment because I thought it was so idiotic. But at the same time, I was like, wow, people really think that. People think that if you don't relate entirely to one concept, that you're lost in this world. But it's like, what if I'm more whole because I've accepted that wisdom and knowledge can come from so many different avenues, that I don't need to put all my loyalty into one concept, because that's how humanity has become enslaved by the idea of gods. They said that we were made in their image to produce loyalty out of us, so that when we pray to them. When we are doing energetic exchanges, they receive the energy. Right? I mean, this might be uncomfortable for some people, but because I've allowed myself to kind of break away from just one concept and then learn about another concept, I've learned that there were holes in what I understood for myself. And so that might be the same thing for you, where you've just kind of allowed yourself to experience different forms of wisdom, different forms of knowledge. And it's not to undermine the last thing that you've learned, it's just to expand. It's just to grow. You're not lost. You become more whole every time you experience something new. Right? And so I thought that was just really funny, because in some people's minds, if you don't attach yourself to one concept, then you're lost in this world. And I think completely the opposite. Where if you attach yourself to one concept, then you are lost. That you're desperately looking to be found. But I'm not here to judge humanity, am I? I'm just part of humanity. And so yeah, that might be something that you've dealt with. But understand that, like, the more you learn and the more you break away from just one avenue of understanding, the more diverse your knowledge is, it actually creates a whole picture. Right? You start getting the fuller image. Okay? So moving on. 2 of Wands with the 10 of Pentacles in reverse. Both of them in reverse. I'm seeing that this indecision, allow it. Allow yourself to be indecisive. Allow yourself to not make a decision. Because I'm a Libra. Okay? I am not the most decisive person. I'm not decisive at all. And I used to think that was something that was a not negative trait, but like a handicap in the society, because they're like, well, just find one thing you like and stick with it and you'll be successful. And so I just kind of like thought that being indecisive was a handicap. But then, but now I'm just like, no, not making like a full decision when I was kind of being forced to freed me up from a lot of things that would have brought me down. Okay. I don't want to talk about myself too much, but this is like how I can help you guys understand and navigate these situations by bringing up my experiences and, like just so that you guys understand what I'm actually talking about. But I was indecisive about a lot of things growing up. I didn't like fully committing to a lot of things. I committed to school. I committed to my degree. But then after that, I realized that I was just following someone else's agenda because I didn't make the decision for me. I made the decision for someone else. And so from that point forward, I was like, okay, every decision is going to be for me. But me being a Libra, I hesitated with every decision I made. And I thought this was a really bad thing because that's what I was told, right, growing up. But then I realized that, not being decisive on where I wanted to take myself after school, it brought me so much joy. It brought me to a place where I just started experiencing and I just started living. And it wasn't about like, well, I already decided this, so it's going to be this. It was like, oh, well, I had recently thought I wanted that. But I'm glad I didn't decide on it because now that I've explored more, I wouldn't have chosen that. I would have chosen the opposite. But because I left it open in the air, it never actually affected me, right? And so my indecision has actually saved my booty a couple times. Okay, it's actually saved my butt a bunch of times. And people might think like, oh no, she lost a lot of opportunities because she didn't decide on time. It's like, well, no, I didn't feel good about making a full decision. And if I don't feel good about making a definitive decision, then none of those options were good for me. That's not where I was meant to go. And it's true. That was not where I was meant to go. The indecision allowed me to just be open. And by being open, I was able to learn all these wonderful things about different religions and different aspects of life and like different avenues of science. I didn't just stick with biology. I went into chemistry. I went into physics. I went into quantum physics, And because of that, I actually grew my sense of understanding. And I feel a lot more calm in who I am because of that indecision. Imagine that. And so things that people demonize you guys for, don't worry about it because it's going to turn out to be your greatest strengths. It's going to turn out to be the reason why you're ahead. That's the reason why you're succeeding, because you allowed yourself to be open. You didn't close yourself off to just one avenue. You opened yourself up to all the avenues. And then you are able to make your decision, right? So if you're unable to make a decision right now, maybe the options just aren't good for you. Maybe those options aren't right for you at all, right? And maybe if you just keep moving forward, you're going to find out that, you're actually able to make decisions very easily when they are good options. Okay, because the 10 of Pentacles in reverse tells me that your indecision is just because you don't see your 10 of Pentacles with these options that are in front of you. And that's okay. It's important for you to say no to the things that you don't feel comfortable with. And And that's just on boundaries, right? That's just a boundary thing where you're allowed to be like, no, you're not going to pressure me into making a decision. You're not going to pressure me into doing anything that I don't want to do. You can go do it if you really want someone to do it. But if you just want me to do it, it might not happen. Because I might decide that it's not good for me. And I might not participate in it at all. So maybe there's a competition going around you. Maybe there's just options kind of floating around you right now. And you're just like, oh, I don't know who to pick. And that's why my life isn't moving forward. But in reality, it's like, well, maybe those options just aren't right for you. Maybe you're not meant to pick any of those options. Maybe practicing patience and just being open to all the possibilities that are good for you is exactly where you're meant to be. And making a decision might be the wrong thing to do for you right now. You know? So I think your spirit guides are saying, like, don't worry if you're unable to be in the right mind to make the right decisions. Because I know, like, you know, our community, what I've been talking about a lot is making the right decisions for yourself, right? But when the options are all terrible, don't make a decision. Wait. Go into your safe space, right? Because you want it. If you don't have a safe space, create one. It can be your car. It can be your closet, okay? When I was living at home, I didn't really feel like I had a safe space, and this was before I was driving, and so my closet was my safe space. I would literally tuck myself into a little nook in my closet and be like, okay, I'm good here. I don't need to make a decision. I don't need to think anything bad about myself. I don't need to think bad about anything else. I don't need to think good about myself. I don't need to think at all. I can just be here and recuperate. And that's what you need to create for yourself. You need to find a place where you are free from the idea of polarity itself, either good or bad. You're free from the idea of everything. And you're just existing in that space. That's what a safe space is. It's a space of non-judgment. It's a space where you can just be and exist. And not follow any standard that anybody's put on you, to not feel compelled to make a decision. It's just a space where you're allowed to just be you in a non-action way. Okay, so if you don't have that, create one for yourself, because that's where you can really regenerate. That's when you can really start hearing yourself and your own direction, right? Right now you're directionless, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It might be a very beautiful thing. You might just be being redirected right now because you have told the universe that the options available to you just aren't good enough and that you want better options. And that's exactly what's happening. And so understand that, just where you are right now, go with the flow. Don't try to think too hard. Don't try to latch onto one. If it's people that are the options, don't latch yourself to any of those people. And just be open to different people. If it's a situation, if it's a job, don't latch yourself onto it's either unemployment or this job. It's like, well, maybe there's gonna be other jobs coming in. Okay, so don't attach yourself to the idea that you might be unemployed or just employed in this place that you're not happy with. Those just aren't your options. So throw them away. Don't latch onto them emotionally or physically, and allow things to move and present itself to you, right? We had the Knight of Cups earlier. So it's like something is going to come in that's going to bring fulfillment, but that requires you to not attach yourself to what is currently happening. All right. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys like the message. I know it's a little different, but that's where I am now. And so, yeah, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give this video a like. If you like the way I read, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you here. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.